And begin. Hello, beautiful people of the world. My name is Dalton, coach from Race Elite Boxing, and this is our podcast, To the Bell. I'm here with a good buddy of mine, slash one of my fighters, Caleb. How you doing, man?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. We're gonna dive into the fight that just happened this past Sunday with Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Just kind of our thoughts, our reaction, what we think should go on going forward. So I'm just gonna dive right on into it, man. I know you watched the fight. What did you think about it?
Like Jake Paul earned my respect, like just lasting the whole 8 rounds, but I wasn't really impressed. I thought honestly he would be bigger in the ring. I didn't expect Tommy to be so big. And Tommy had good movement and a good jab the whole fight, and he's throwing his combinations. He looked good.
See, that's what kind of worries me from the fighter's aspect is Jake had a hard time getting around that jab.
Yeah.
I mean, even through the whole fight, man, he really didn't have an answer for that jab. And what blows my mind is Tommy's only throwing one jab. Like he very rarely doubles the jab up.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been like, hey, when he throws that jab, paw the jab and throw a jab. Catch and shoot. But it's like they weren't doing that at all. And it's like the main punches Tommy were getting off was based off the jab, which is kudos to him, phenomenal job. On the other side, Jake Paul's team should have been like, hey man, he's only throwing one stiff jab. Paw that jab and throw it, man. I mean, catch and shoot. Uh, I think it was a test for Jake getting in there with a professional fighter. I think he done well. I think that he passed the test, and I think he's ready to fight legit fighters now. Maybe not with the huge credentials,
Right.
because Tommy he only has 12 amateur bouts, and what eight fights as a professional. So
Yeah.
he don't have a huge resume, but Jake can easily get in there with professional fighters and give them that chance and that shot to make that money
Yeah.
instead of the other YouTubers.
Right.
Like I could see Jake actually, being a fighter. I don't know if he's gonna be a contender for like a world champion or not, but I could see him getting in there and doing good against, good opposition and good fighters.
Yeah, if he really wants to take it serious and be a contender, I mean, I'd like to see him drop a weight class personally, because I don't think he's big enough to fight it. Like he's fighting at 185, 190,
Right. Right.
and in the past it's been 170 pound UFC fighters,
Do you
ex-UFC
think
fighters.
it might be a factor if he don't want to cut weight? That like cutting
Yeah,
weight is hard, man. Cutting weight
right,
and making weight is not easy. He might just want to just do it because that's the easier route to say. I want to stay this weight because natural guys that size are big dudes.
right.
I mean, he's not.
Big,
I mean, that's like a cruiserweight level, man. I mean, he's not in there fighting little guys.
right.
I think he did good, man. I wish he would have, you know, been able to kind of catch and shoot more. Jake didn't really like the pressure a whole lot, man. Like Tom would get in there, throw a couple of shots, and he would easily freeze up and turn his head, turn his back.
Yeah, he I could see he tried to pressure him the first, I want to say 3 rounds, but I think he just didn't have the gas for it, honestly.
Yeah, I
It's
seen it after the third round. He started breathing out his mouth, kept wanting to hold more and more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the reach right there. Tommy with an 80-inch reach and Jake Paul with a 76 reach.
Yeah, that reach is insane for a 6 foot tall guy. Israel Adesanya, the champ, he was middleweight champion of the UFC. They're doing a rematch, I want to say in April or May, against Alex Pereira. He's 6'4" and has 80-inch reach.
God.
So
And then here's Tommy, six
six
foot,
foot, yeah,
with the same reach. I mean, dude, I know you talked about it earlier, man. Most guys that size normally don't have that big of a physique, but he has huge arms, big traps.
right,
I mean, you normally see tall, lengthy guys at that size, but I mean, he's
yeah,
built like, I mean, a bodybuilder, man. Honestly,
yeah,
he's got the big chest, wide frame.
yeah. He's just big everywhere, honestly. He's pretty tall, fucking long arms, and his arms are thick. He's got huge traps. I'm like, dang,
It makes me wonder if, and it definitely, like I said this before, it definitely played a factor in the fight.
yeah,
When you're Jake Paul and you're used to fighting retired people that's, been out of the game for a while, and then you go in there fighting a guy that's, a lot bigger than you are in size, I know it has to play a role in there, man. It has to.
right,
And then you're landing these big shots on him, and it's not even phasing him. I mean, you got to think Tommy's 23, and the last guy he fought, was twice his age, twice the age of Jake, and twice
yeah,
the age of Tommy. It
yeah,
definitely plays a huge role. What I didn't like about the fight is the commentaries like anytime Jake would land a big punch, like, oh, Jake Paul just landed a massive right hand. And
Yeah,
Tommy's just like, okay, and like keeps walking him down. It didn't really play a huge factor in the fight. Like he would hit him, and Tommy's like,
yeah, I felt the commentary was very, very biased. Like
yeah,
they'd be like, whenever his eye got cut, Tommy's eye from a clash of heads, they was like, oh, his eye's starting to split open from all those overhand rights Jake Paul's landed. But it was a clash of heads, clearly.
and they even showed it in the replay of the fight. You know, when
Yeah,
that happens and takes place, you can see them be like, oh, there it is, and they just happen to just kind of dink right there on the eye.
yeah,
And even after the fight, man, Jake has some good little shiners on him, man. He's got a couple things under his eyes.
yeah,
Basically off that jab that Tommy just kept establishing early. And I love that about how he was just the fundamentals of boxing. We've talked about all the time, man, is how he just stuck with the jab. And it took him around the world, man. I mean, he had established his jab early in the rounds, stuck through it. And again, Jake's it's like they didn't know how to get around the jab, you know? And it could have been a huge factor. I know he said it in the locker room after or before the fight. He said there's no injuries going into this, had a great camp. And then after the fight, he's like, well, I was sick twice. I hurt my right arm, da 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 da. And they just said that, man. And, you know, like, I wasn't a fan of that. I was a fan of after the fight, and he said, don't judge me by my wins, judge me off my losses.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah, and I think he'll be back. I think he is good for boxing to an extent. I think he should just stay nice and relaxed when he's in there, not getting too worried about the pressure. Uh, we'll just, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think KSI would be a good fight for him. I do. I
Yeah,
don't think he should fight Tommy Fury again.
yeah. Like, I mean, it would be good for boxing, but I don't see him like beating Tommy Fury, honestly. The like you say it's hard to get around the jab, or it's he
Yeah,
wasn't having any luck getting around the jab, but I mean I'd say it's very difficult when that dude's got 80-inch reach.
yeah.
Like
What gets
that's
me, man, is Jake's favorite punch is the overhand right.
right.
So what gets me is, you know, when you're a shorter guy, you're easier to find the overhand right. And I don't know why he didn't just set it up or go be like over the jab when he throws it.
Yeah,
Like taking the head off the line and throwing the overhand right and landing it. You know, I don't know if it's like the coaches, but they were saying this and that. You know, I don't understand. Uh, but you got to think, man, like Jake being where he's at and then where Tommy's at, you know, Tommy's like, man, I'm going to take that fight because where else am I going to make that kind of money?
right.
And there was a comment that leading up to the fight, Jake Paul said, uh, you know, you only want to take this fight because of the money. He's like, you know, you don't want to fight me. You're scared to fight me, blah, 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 blah. He said, your biggest purse was a fight that you were on, one of like my undercards, and it was 100 grand. He said, that was the most money you ever made. And that was because of me. So, like, and like you said before, like the legacy of money, you know?
Yeah. I can't remember who said it. Maybe Floyd Mayweather. Honestly, he said like everybody wants to say like I'm fighting for legacy and like I do this for my legacy, but you can't feed your children off of legacy.
Right. So, and you got to think too, man. Uh, there was a lot of talk about, you know, Tommy being scared to fight him and this and this for almost 3 years worth of buildup.
Yeah.
And Tommy's getting people walking up to him on the street saying, you know, you're not a real fighter, you're not a real Fury, you're this, you're that. And dude, I know that played a huge role in that fight. Which I mean, you would have thought Tommy would come out of the gates trying to knock him out, but he didn't. He stayed composed and he won round by round.
Right.
And it's wild, man. Sean Porter had the fight unofficially tied up in the 6th round, had it even.
That's
And that
crazy.
kind of, I was like, what? Are we watching the same fight? You know,
Yeah.
huge shout out to Sean Porter. I mean, he's a great fighter, but I was like, I don't have it as that. I have it Tommy winning every single round. Of
And,
course, he did win the one where he knocked him down, supposedly. And if you watch the fight, it was clearly a knockdown, but the way Tommy gets back up, man, it really didn't phase him. It kind of just
yeah.
caught him off guard.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, it is what it is. Well, I mean, do you think the hype? Do you think it was worth it that build up for 3 years?
Yeah. They did have the fight scheduled a couple years back, right?
Yeah, they were supposed to fight. This is the
What?
third time the charm. They were supposed to fight.
For real?
Yeah,
What
they were
times already?
supposed to fight. Yeah, and stuff kept happening. He's got injured in sparring, this and that, this and that. Just hearsay.
Yeah, I knew it had like it was scheduled once and then it fell apart, but I didn't know like really what
And
happened.
they mentioned that Tommy said, you know, yeah, of course I'm gonna give him the rematch. You know, he gave me 3 chances, so I
Mm.
feel like it's only fair for me to do it back to him. So they
So
have that respect. I mean, and it was a
nice.
huge build up, man. I mean, people were tuning in watching the weigh-ins. watching all the shenanigans take place and like the faces off and I mean, it was a huge for thing, you know. But I don't see Jake. I don't see Jake beating Tommy. I think if they fight 10 times, Tommy wins 10 times. I don't see him doing,
Yeah.
being able to knock out Tommy or beat him in the scorecards.
Yeah, he hit him with, I believe, this is his best punches with, which is the overhand right, and like I mean, he landed a few, but I mean, it really didn't seem to affect Tommy at all.
No,
He
he
was
would get
right
hit and
back
then
with the
come right back.
combination.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it just shows me like Tommy does have a chin, and so does Paul. I mean, Jake was landing some good punches on Tommy, but it wasn't just like that. Tommy was throwing big punches on him too, landed a
right.
nice uppercut on Jake.
Yeah,
And he handled it well. His knees didn't buckle. He didn't wiggle. Like, only thing that bothered me, for Jake was anytime Tommy would come close and really let his hands go, those combinations, Jake would instantly like back up 2 or 3 steps.
yeah.
But Tommy wouldn't finish them. Most guys are like, go, go. You can hear sometimes like Tyson being like, go, go, get him. Like,
And
get him out of there.
Paul would be kind of like this, kind of
Yeah,
like,
turned his back to him.
yeah,
Really didn't want the pressure. And it's weird because after that, they asked him at the press conference, what was your initial game plan going in there? And he was like, pressure, pressure, Tommy. I was gonna pressure Tommy. But I mean,
yeah,
Tommy was taking rule books, or textbook stuff out of Tyson style, and he was in there,
right.
using the feints, using the
Yeah,
footwork.
being loose, playing with, like, just playing with the hands, just really, really look good in there. I think I think Fury, or I mean, Paul was trying to pressure him the first few rounds, and then like it's just one of those things like if you can't keep up with that pace, you like kind of drown yourself.
Right.
And like then he started looking sloppy a little, like he'd do this number with the jab and kind of like lean over and pull his hand down. And
And then what kind of really upset me is it was after the third round, and they're going around the audience, and they give the mic to Logan Paul. And they're like, Logan, what do you think about your brother? And he's like, oh, you're doing good, Jake. He's like, Tommy, you will, and like starts calling him, saying these words, this and that, this and that. I would love to see a brother versus brother matchup. Let's see, all right, let's see Tommy and Jake. Let's see Tyson Fury and Logan Paul throw hands.
I'd
Like, why
love
are
to
you
see
doing
it.
like that? And then he
Yeah,
was like one of the things he said, he was like, Tommy's gassed, Tommy's tired. And the whole time, Tommy looks composed. Jake's breathing out of
right,
his mouth. He's being a mouth breather. He's
right.
taking deep breaths of air, showing us and Tommy that he's tired.
Yeah, I want to say like shortly after that, it started going like really downhill, which is, I mean, it never was like uphill, but like it was starting to go bad for him after Logan said that
I
stuff.
mean, it looked
He's,
kind of like Tommy was kind of going easy with him a little bit.
yeah,
There was a few times that he really could have went in there and done some damage, and he'd kind of like back off.
you can, and like I don't know what it is about the Jake Paul fights, but like you kind of seen that with Tyron Woodley whenever he fought Tyron Woodley, I think the first time.
He lands a good shot on.
He goes into the ropes and then he's just like he's just here. Like
Yeah,
he don't move forward. He just kind of he's like what's gonna happen now?
I think after this fight, I think Jake has earned a lot of respect for fighters, coaches. I'm hearing my respect get in there with somebody like Tommy. I mean, just somebody that has that caliber of I am a professional fighter. I am this. I'm close to your age.
100%.
I mean, he passed the test, man. I think I could see him fighting other people.
Yeah.
I don't know what bigger fight they can make in that division with Jake Paul, but I mean, him fighting Tommy was huge. And even me, I was one of those guys who was like skeptical about it. Like, man, I want to see him fight for a real fighter. He
Right.
fights these YouTube fighters, but I want to see him like if he wants to be a fighter, I want to see him fight these legit guys. And he did it, and he didn't do bad.
Yeah.
He didn't do the best, but he didn't do horrible. I mean, he was able to stay in there for 8 rounds, which I think is a huge win. Uh, and he said that don't judge me by my wins, judge me by my losses. So I think based off that, he already has that mindset of I want to do good. I'm here to stay.
Right.
You know. So I think personally he'll be better. I think going forward he'll be a much better fighter. I think he'll be a little more humble, knowing that he's been in there and had somebody stop him. Uh, I mean, I think it's good for both fighters, man. Even
Yeah.
Tommy, he's never been a main
Yeah.
fight in his career, and like he only has 8 fights.
Now he's been under those bright lights and
Yeah,
he's got the paycheck. He's seen what it's like and like
he'll
got to
definitely
feel
win it
those,
again.
yeah, got to feel those emotions and go through it.
I
But I mean,
mean,
I have a huge amount of respect for Jake Paul as far as like just stepping up to Tommy, who's got like a lot more experience than him. Like if you count amateurs and pro, he's got 20 fights combined. It's like 12 in the amateurs, 8
yeah,
professional.
yep.
I mean, that's close to 4 times what Jake Paul has.
I
So,
mean, he did it. I mean, he got in there, yeah, and and it wouldn't have happened without Saudi Arabia. I
Right.
mean, what they done for boxing, and I mean, huge people out there, man. Deontay Wilder, Mike Tyson, Devin Haney. I believe Kevin Hart was there too.
Mm.
They had all these huge people there, and they brought boxing to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And they made comments about wanting to keep bringing boxing back. They want to make boxing huge there and pay the fighters what they deserve. I think that's huge, man, for them. It speaks huge volume.
Yeah.
And they even talked about Jake Paul being like, man, we'll run the rematch here again in Saudi Arabia. I mean, they were treated him like royalty, man. Gave him food. I mean, you can look up the stuff on Instagram, YouTube, and how they treated them when they were there. I mean, just
All the fighters.
yeah, all of them, dude. People in general, man. Even like I said earlier, Deontay Wilder and all them. And trying to get off, the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight, but did you see the video of Tyson Fury seeing Deontay after the trilogy?
Oh yeah, he
And he
goes
was like, bro, yeah,
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 bomb squad,
and they run up and give each other a hug.
yeah, dude, I think that's hilarious, man. Like
Yeah, I
that,
love that.
yeah, that was hilarious. So they're just sportsmen about it.
Yeah.
Uh, man, I just feel like both guys will just come up, man, because if you look at it, if Tommy Fury would have lost, that would have ended his boxing career.
Mm.
I mean, like people would be like, man, if how are you gonna lose to a YouTuber? If he beats you, then you're not even a real fighter.
Yeah, Tyson was like, "Man, we're taking away your last name. We'll leave you out here in Saudi Arabia and stuff."
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, freaking out, man. But and people are like, well, yeah, Tommy should have won. I mean, whatever. But if he would have lost, dude, it would have like Tommy would. There'd
Yeah.
be no point in him even continuing to fight anymore. And he said it. There was a guy asked him that said, if you lose, does that mean you're gonna retire from boxing? He's like, absolutely. He's like, if this YouTuber beats me, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been boxing my whole life. This guy been boxing 3 years and beats me, yeah, I should retire. And I feel like Jake now, I mean, he's got no room but to go up.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lost, you're at the bottom, so to say. He has no room but to grow. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
feel like, there's gonna be big things happening in boxing, and they might fight again recently. A lot of fighters they fight every 6 months, and I mean, who's to say the rematch will take place in 6 months and run it back? And that'd be again
Yeah.
back to Saudi Arabia because they were all about it, dude, hosting the fights and I mean, huge turnout, man.
Yeah. I mean,
Huge
I'd love
turnout.
to see it again, honestly. But I think Tommy wins it, and I think if Jake wants to be a real contender, I might have said this already, but I think he needs to go down a weight class. I think he's looked big because he's fought 170 pounders from the UFC, like ex UFC fighters, and I mean, yeah, you're gonna look bigger, but it's the guys in that weight, which is like 185, 190 range. I mean, those are big dudes. And Jake Paul, I mean, he is a bigger guy, but he's not that big.
I think this next time or this next camp, whatever they do, I think they really need to focus on going back to the basics. Block a punch, throw a punch, because that jab, man, he wasn't wanting to. I mean, and it's not hard to defend a jab. Slip the jab, pull the jab, catch and shoot the jab, but I think he needs to get in there and spar better opposition, spar better guys that have a better resume.
Yeah.
Spar guys that have the same caliber as Tommy Fury. A lot of big guys in boxing, when they get their sparring partners, they find somebody that fights like them. They might have the speed like them. They try to find even if it's three different guys. Like okay, this guy has his speed, this guy has his power, this guy fights like him. You spar all three of them to learn their style to help you prevail the next fight.
Right.
So I think maybe next time they take that out and use that for their camp, and he could do better. I mean, because Jake, if you watch his videos, man, he trains hard. I mean, this like him going in there to fight Tommy. I mean, he wasn't in there playing. He planned to
Right.
go in there and get the job done. He wasn't gonna go in there and roll over on his back.
Yeah. I was
You
I
know.
was impressed, like just him making it through all 8 rounds. I don't know how I expected the fight to go, honestly, but like I mean, I tuned in just because, and like I don't know, I was pretty impressed with Fury. That's honestly like the first fight I fully watched through of his.
I mean, there was a lot of guys here at the gym that were like, "Man, Tommy gonna win." Like Jake Paul's got him. Like
Yeah.
Tommy's not that
And they've
good.
been
This
seeing
and
those
this.
those videos of Jake Paul grinding, wearing like the mask, getting in the
I mean, he
corn
was,
pond.
dude. He
Yeah,
was. I mean, he was putting in work, dude, and
which I
that's not
just
easy, man. Like that's the hardest part about fighting is the preparation. I mean, we've talked about it before,
yeah.
and he was all about it, man. He was all about it. Who I wasn't all about was that ref. I
Oh
was
my
not a
God.
fan of the ref.
No.
Oh my god, dude! Like, and him, like, he gave a point, which I understand. He gave a point to Jake Paul for hitting back the head, but again, they're both the same caliber. They're kind of in there just going at it, and they weren't throwing massive shots, just little, stuff in the back of the head, and
Right.
he took a point away from it. And then the next round takes a point off of Tommy for clinching.
Yeah.
And if you watch it, dude, a lot of times he would literally stick his hands out like this, and Jake's just hold on to him.
Yeah. Jake was 90% of the time initiating the clinch, and he would just hold.
Yeah. And a lot of like some referees let them work out of the clinch. Like if they're willing to work, they'll be like, "We'll work out of the clinch." But if they're just standing there holding each other, they'll just break them out. And he kept doing it, man. Kept doing it. I think that's a big problem, man. Or at least like use the clinch to set up certain shots. Maybe you can move your guy to the ropes and then break off the clinch there, and then you kind of use that to your advantage. I just wasn't a fan how the ref would like let them and then break them up. They would hold, but they would hold excessively for a long time. I mean, like seconds.
I think that's all on Jake Paul's. But like Jake Paul's end. Like I don't think Tommy wanted to fucking be in there holding.
No, I think Tom wanted to get in there and fight. I think he wanted to go in there and go at it.
One thing I want to ask you: how did you score the fight?
I think he won every round except for the round he got knocked down.
Mm.
Which in boxing, if you get knocked down, it's automatic 10-8 round, which means you clearly won the round by a lot.
Yeah.
Other than that, dude, there is no point in time that had me on the edge of my seat going, "Oh, Tommy might lose."
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be like that, but there was no point in time where I was like, "Oh no, Tommy might lose." Oh, Tommy might go down. Like, and I kind of watched because I was like, well, Jake's gonna land that right hand. Like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he lands that right hand. How is Tommy Fury going to react to that? Right. And he landed it, and Tommy just ate it for breakfast. He was like, that's it.
And he's coming back from
more. So I was like, okay. Yeah. And then, like we said earlier, man, the judge was like, oh, Jake landed a big right hand, and Tommy's just like, I'm still going. I don't understand why you guys are.
Yeah, and they were like talking about how like, oh, he's put his eye open because of
all those
big right hands.
Yeah, all those big overhands that he landed.
All right, man.
I mean, I would love to see Jake keep doing the thing he's doing. Just kind of explore a little bit more, like get out there and fight, legit fighter. I mean, he showed he could do it.
Right.
So there's no reason for him not to keep doing it. Maybe fight KSI and then go back to fighting legit guys, or fight the good guys and then fight KSI. Either way, you slice or dice it. I think it's still good that he's willing to get in there with legit fighters. So I think it's awesome, and he's gained a lot of my respect and a lot of guys here's the gym's respect that he was able to do that. I mean, that's huge. I think. You got anything else you want to say or anything?
No, I think that's good.
Thank you guys so much. If you like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe. Comment and tell us what you think about the fight. Are you a fan of Jake Paul? Is Jake Paul a real fighter? Will he be a contender? Ask what you thought about Tommy Fury and what you guys want to see next. Thank you so much for following along this journey with us, and we'll see what we have next in store. And time.